Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Bala Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Bala Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Bala Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Recording in progress.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad, not Srimad Bhagavatam, but Chaitanya Charitamrita class. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7, and verses 40 and 41. We're very fortunate to have His Grace Vishnu Kadaprabhu from this Philadelphia to give a class. Hare Krishna, please accept our humble obeisances.
Pancha
All glories.
kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you, Parikshit Prabhu. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming on to the Zoom class. We'll chant the Parama Karuna prayer.
Yeah.
And you are welcome, if you're in a position or a space where you can, to unmute yourselves. So there's a call and response, if possible. Thank you. Parama Karuna Ahudvijana Nitai Gaurachandra
Parama Karuna Pahudvijana Nitai Gaura Chandra
Kab Avatar Shar Shiramani Kevala Ananda Kanda
Sabhavataram Sarashiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda
Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudridha Vishwas Kari
Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudhida Vishwasa Kori
Ishaya Charya Tera Se Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari
Vishayacharya Sera Se Majia Muke Bolo Hari Hari
Rekha Ore Bhai Tribhuvane Nai এমন দয়ালো দাতা
देखो
देखो
और
रे
भाई
त्रिभुवने
त्रिभुवने नाय
नाय
एमोना
एमोना
दोयाला
দয়াল
दाता
দাতা
পশু পাখি জুড়ে আশান বিদরে শুনি যার গুণ গাতা
পশু
पाशु
পাখি জুড়ে
पाखी पाशाना
আকারে
विदारे शुनि जनरा गुनागाता
সংসারে মজিয়া রহিলি পদিয়া সে পদে নহিল আশা
সংসারে
संसारे
মাঝিয়া
माजिया
রহিলি
रोहिली
পড়িয়া
पोरिया विश्व
এবং
पाले नाहिलो आशा
আশা
আপন করম ভুঞ্জায়ে সমন কহয়ে লোচন দাস
আপন
आपन
করম
करमम
ভুঞ্জায়
भुंजाये
সমন
शमन कहोयलो
লোচন
चनदासा
দাসা
পরম করুণ প্রভু দ্বিজন নিতায় গৌরচন্দ্র
परम
পরম
करुणा
করুণা
पाहुदुई
বহুদুই
जन
জনা
हिताई
তাই
गौरचंद्र
গৌরচন্দ্র
পরম করুণ প্রভু দ্বিজন নিতায় গৌরচন্দ্র
परम
পরম
करुणा
করুণা
पाहुदुई
বহুদুই
जन
জনা
हिताई
তাই
गौरचंद्र
গৌরচন্দ্র
সববতার সার শিরমণি কেবল আনন্দ কন্দ
Sabavata
সর্বভূতার সার শিরোমণি
Shashiromani
কেবল আনন্দ
Kevala
কন্দ
Anandakanda
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय
কি জয়
Jai
अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की जय
জয়
Jai
ISKCON फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय
জয়
Jai
नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय
Jai
জয়
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय
জয়
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय
Jai
জয়
वृंदावन धाम की जय
জয়
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय
জয়
गंगा माई की जय
Jai
জয়
जमुना माई की जय
Jai
জয়
तुलसी देवी की जय
জয়
भक्ति देवी की जय
Jai
জয়
समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय
জয়
गौर प्रेमानंदे
Hari
হরি
Hari
হরি
Bol
বল
all glories to the assembled devotees
হরে
Hare
কৃষ্ণ
Krishna
all glories to the assembled devotees
হরে
Hare
কৃষ্ণ
Krishna
all glories to the assembled devotees
হরে কৃষ্ণ
Hare Krishna
all glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Haribol
হরি বল
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om
ওম
Namo
নমো
Bhagavate
ভগবতে বাসুদেবায়
Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om
ওম
Namo
নমো
Bhagavate
ভগবতে বাসুদেবায়
Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
ওম
Om Namo
নমো ভগবতে
Bhagavate
বাসুদেবায়
Vasudevaya
Reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 7th chapter, which is entitled Lord Chaitanya in 5 Features, the 40th verse. Vrindavan Jaite Prabhu Rohila Kashite Mayavadi Gana Tare Lagil Nindite. Would somebody like to chant?
Vrindavana
Jaite
Jaite
Prabhu
Prabhu
Rahila
Rahila
Kashite
Kashite
Mayavadi Ganatare Lagila Nindite
Vrindavana Jaite Prabhu Rahila Kashite Mayavadi Gana Tanve Lagila Nindite. Hare Krishna.
वृंदावन यायते प्रभु रहेला काशिते मायावादी गण तांद्रे लागिला निंदिते हरे कृष्ण
Vrindavan, the holy place called Vrindavan. Jaite. While going there, Prabhu, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Rohila remained Kashite at Varanasi. Mayavadi Garn, the Mayavadi philosophers, Tanre, unto him, Logila began Nindite, to speak against him. Translation. While Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing through Varanasi on his way to Vrindavan, the Mayavadi sannyasi philosophers blasphemed against him in many ways. Purport. While preaching Krishna consciousness with full vigor, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu faced many Mayavadi philosophers. Similarly, we are also facing opposing swamis, yogis, impersonalists, scientists, philosophers, and other mental speculators. And by the grace of Lord Krishna, we successfully defeat all of them without difficulty. Sannyasi Khaya Kori Gayan Nachan Na Kori Vedanta Pat Korina Sankirtan. Translation. Can we go up a little bit? The blasphemers said, although a sannyasi, he does not take interest in the study of Vedanta, but instead always engages in chanting and dancing in Sankirtan. Purport. Fortunately or unfortunately, we also meet such Mayavadis who criticize our method of chanting and accuse us of not being interested in study. They do not know that we have translated volumes and volumes of books into English, and that the students in our temples regularly study them in the morning, afternoon, and evening. We are writing and printing books, and our students study them and distribute them all over the world. No Mayavadi school can present as many books as we have. Nevertheless, they accuse us of not being fond of study. Such accusations are completely false. But although we study, we do not study the nonsense of the Mayavadis. Mayavadi sannyasis neither chant nor dance. Their technical objection is that this method of chanting and dancing is called Toryatrika, which indicates that a sannyasi should completely avoid such activities and engage his time in study of Vedanta. Actually, such men do not understand what is meant by Vedanta. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Krishna says, Vedaischa sarvair ahang eva vedyo, Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I'm the knower of the Vedas. Lord Krishna is the actual compiler of Vedanta, and whatever he speaks is Vedanta philosophy. Although they are lacking the knowledge of Vedanta presented by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental form of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Mayavadis are very proud of their study. Foreseeing the bad effects of their presenting Vedanta philosophy in a perverted way, Srila Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam as a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhashyo Yang Brahma Sutrana. In other words, all the Vedanta philosophy in the aphorisms of the Brahma Sutra is thoroughly described in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, the factual propounder of Vedanta philosophy is a Krishna conscious person who always engages in reading and understanding the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and teaching the purport of these books to the entire world. The Mayavadis are very proud of having monopolized the Vedanta philosophy, but devotees have their own commentaries on Vedanta, such as Srimad Bhagavatam and others written by the Acharyas. The commentary of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is Govinda Bhashya. The Mayavadi's accusation that devotees do not study Vedanta is false. The Mayavadis do not know that chanting, dancing, and preaching the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam called Bhagavad Dharma are the same as studying Vedanta. Since they think that reading Vedanta philosophy is the only function of a sannyasi, and they did not find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu engaged in such direct study, they criticize the Lord. Sripad Shankaracharya has given special stress to the study of Vedanta philosophy. Vedanta Vakyeshu Shada Ramanta Kalpinavanta Kulu Bhagavanta. A sannyasi accepting the renounced order very strictly and wearing nothing more than a loincloth should always enjoy the philosophical statements of the Vedanta Sutra. Such a person in the renounced order is to be considered very fortunate. The Mayavadis in Varanasi blasphemed Lord Chaitanya because his behavior did not follow these principles. Lord Chaitanya, however, bestowed his mercy upon these Mayavadi sannyasis and delivered them by means of his Vedanta discourses with Prakashananda Saraswati and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militang Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitang Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sha Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before speaking, I would like to ask for the blessings and permission of all the devotees, and especially those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. These verses are describing Lord Chaitanya's activities after he took sannyas are very enlightening. Lord Chaitanya took the renounced order of life at the end of his 23rd year, just in the start of his 24th year, just before. Even though he had a young wife and a dependent mother who was very devoted to him, still to give mercy to the whole world, he took sannyas. And what are some of the reasons, the more specific reasons that he took sannyas? Do you recall?
Yeah, some of it was just because at the time people paid more attention to what sannyasis said than other people in different ashrams. So since he wanted his message to be heard, he decided to take sannyas.
Yeah, so there were certain people, even though Lord Chaitanya was distributing Krishna consciousness through his Sankirtan movement in Navadvip area, Nadia district, they were not affected yet. Who are those people? Logicians, students, uh, karma, people absorbed in material life. They stayed aloof, and also the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, they stayed aloof. And as Parikshit Prabhu said, it was the custom among all of those, at least will show respect to a sannyasi. Even those who are smartas, followers of the detailed etiquette rules of Hindu culture, like Raghunandan, they say that when you first see a sannyasi, you must immediately offer respects. And if you don't, there's a self-induced punishment to that. You know what that is?
Not really, no.
It's enjoined in that recommendation that one should fast that day.
Oh,
If upon, yeah. So anyway, that's not necessarily from the Krishna conscious point of view, but it was recommended, and it's certainly practiced at the time, that anybody who sees a sannyasi, upon seeing them, naturally they should offer respect. So even if they're offering respect to Lord Chaitanya because they believe he's a sannyasi, they get very good benefit from that. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. You have to always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer obeisances to me. So this is one of the activities of Krishna consciousness, to offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord. So by taking sannyas, Lord Chaitanya induced all those people, the students, the karmis, etc., to offer obeisances. And it says that that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that those students and blasphemers and others, they became they accepted Lord Chaitanya's movement at that time. But the only people who didn't accept after that were the Mayavadis. And Krishnadas Kaviraj previously said the main reason Lord Chaitanya took sannyas was to deliver the Mayavadis. Isn't that interesting? Although he intended to deliver all those different categories of people who are not engaged or not interested in devotional service, the primary reason, previously we said in earlier verses, was to deliver the Mayavadis. Do you have any inkling about why that might be true? And this is, of course, not speculative. This is a little speculative, but if you had to make your suggest certain ideas, why might that be true? That Lord Chaitanya, one of the main reasons, or the main reason he took sannyas was to deliver the Mayavadis.
He took sannyas from a Mayavadic person?
Why does it said, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in previous verses said that the main reason Lord Chaitanya took sannyas was to deliver the Mayavadis. Of course, to deliver all those different people who were avoiding his mercy, but particularly the Mayavadis.
Mayavadis at the time, their influence was quite significant at the time. So that would be, I would assume, one reason why Lord Chaitanya would try to deliver them, because many people were listening to them,
Sure,
accepting
sure.
Mayavadi philosophy.
Yes,
Many
yes.
people were.
The
Yeah,
influence
I
of
think.
the Mayavadi philosophy was still very great,
Mhm.
especially that Mayavadi understanding uh, preached by Shankaracharya. And it's still very
Mhm.
strong.
Mhm.
As Srila Prabhupada mentioned in these purports, he said that he also has to meet with many Mayavadi philosophers, impersonalists, scientists, etc., etc. And he said, and he defeats them all. Very interesting. So because Mayavadi philosophy is so prominent, not just in India but all over the world, um, people, what is the Mayavadi philosophy? How do you understand it? Mayavadi philosophy. What does it mean? The Mayavadi philosophy.
Mhm.
You know, I'm asking.
Oh, they don't. They're impersonalists. They are the ones that they are the ones that think that initially you may not be at the level of the Lord, but later on, after study, you can be Narayan. That's one
Yes,
of the things that we're doing. They come to the
yes,
level of God, even though they've not created anything.
yes.
It's-
Dear Krishna
mm,
Prabhu is going to answer too. No, he unmuted. I thought that's why, but no, maybe not.
oh, okay.
Anybody else?
You think that Lord is, is impersonal?
Yes, that his body is made of Maya, is immaterial. His body, he's got a material body.
Mm,
That the abode of the Lord is also material. The process of devotional service is something material. All these, and they all say, the Mayavadi says, Mayavadi, Maya means Maya. All these aspects of Krishna are just different categories of Maya, perhaps in the mode of goodness, but the Lord's form, his activities, his abode, and his devotional service are all part of the material energy. Therefore, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mam mudha manusim tanamashrita parambhava majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. People who are less intelligent or mudha, they think that I've assumed this form and personality. They don't know my supreme dominion, my actual position and my supreme dominion over all that be. So this is Mayavadi. Often the Mayavadis cloak themselves in the language of devotional service or bhakti. And they will say things like, it's really important to have bhakti, but you can have bhakti to anybody. Bhakti to Krishna, bhakti to Shiva, bhakti to Ganapati, but the important thing is bhakti. You follow?
yeah.
So this is there. So really that is impersonalism in disguise, in the disguise of bhakti. Lord
Mm,
Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all other kind of dharmas and surrender unto me only. He doesn't say surrender to this one or this one or this one or this one, but he says surrender unto me only. But Mayavadi people, for their own purposes, they want to make God impersonal. And so the forms of God that they recognize are really not important. So it doesn't matter whether they're, this form, that demigod, they're all not, the form themselves is not important because ultimately God is the formless spirit within all those forms like that. And part of the Mayavadi philosophy is also that one, as Parikshit Prabhu mentioned, that one, the living entity, becomes equal in all respects to God, or is equal in all respects to God. And by practicing, studying Vedanta and practicing austerities, that one comes to that realization that actually one is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a supreme. They accept Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahma. And Brahma can be understood to be the greatest, or God. Aham Brahmasmi means I am God, or I am spirit. Could be the Supreme Spirit. But the Vaishnava philosophers say, oh, you are, yes, you are spirit, but you're not the Supreme Spirit. You're a tiny fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. So you're a Brahman, that's okay, but Krishna is Para Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. There's one Supreme Brahman, and there are many tiny Brahmans, part and parcels. And the business of the tiny part and parcels is to serve the Supreme Brahman. So that the argument usually given to defeat the Mayavadi view is that if you're actually God, the Supreme God, not little gods, tiny gods, then how is it that you've become controlled or become in ignorance, thinking, or were at least prior to that, were in ignorance, because then ignorance would be more powerful than God. If everybody is God, how come so many people are in ignorance? That means we're not really the Supreme God. We're not Pada Brahman, but we're tiny part and parcels of God. And because we're so tiny, we can be covered over by ignorance. So this philosophy is differentiated between Mayavad philosophy and Vaishnava philosophy. Unless, as mentioned, Lord Chaitanya especially took sannyas to convert the Mayavadis. So in these two verses, on his way to Vrindavan, Lord Chaitanya stopped at Varanasi, and he was told about the blaspheming that was going on by the Mayavadi sannyasis there. Benares, or it's also known as Kashi, is a seat at that time, and still a seat of impersonal philosophy. Benares. So he heard about this blaspheming going on, criticizing him, but he didn't address it immediately. He had other business he wanted to take care of in Vrindavan, and only on his way back did he address these misunderstandings of the Mayavadi philosophers headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. And how many followers did Prakashananda Saraswati have?
Not sure, but I think they were numbered in the thousands, if I'm not mistaken.
60,000.
Yeah, okay.
So it was a big deal. It was a big deal. The sway of the Mayavadi philosophy was so strong, he could have 60,000 followers studying under him, studying Vedanta in Benares. When Lord Chaitanya, on his way back from Vrindavan, he went to personally meet those philosophers, and he had a discussion with them, and he defeated their Mayavad philosophy, and they all, including especially Prakashananda Saraswati and all of his disciples, became Vaishnavas, all 60,000. This is the potency of the Krishna conscious philosophy. when Srila Prabhupada mentions that he had to meet and argue or defeat many Mayavadis, there was one famous interchange that Srila Prabhupada had with a professor at the University of California in Berkeley in 1970. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a very instructive interaction that he had. That person, who was the head of the Eastern Asian and Southeastern Asian languages and culture, was named J.F. Stahl, known as Fritz Stahl. And what happened was the Los Angeles Times, which was the big newspaper in Los Angeles, interviewed Professor Stahl about the Hare Krishna movement. So Professor Stahl, in his interview, which was most of it, portions of it were printed in the Los Angeles Times, he said, "Yeah, I think that they're sincere people. It's a genuine religion, but they don't really have any philosophy. They're too busy chanting all the time, too busy chanting, and therefore they don't really have a philosophy." And then he said also that in his view, Hinduism really is a mystical religion, and the supreme in Hinduism is impersonal. So he found it surprising that the this West Eastern religion had a personal God. So he speculated. He said, "Well, it seems as though the Western idea in Christianity, which is monotheistic, somehow got grafted into Hinduism, and so they came up with this idea of a personal God of Krishna." So that was, and one of the reasons this was a controversy was because devotees had applied to the University of California to have a credit course in the university system of California, and that was denied. One of the people who denied it was Dr. Stahl. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada there was a series of letters back and forth that Srila Prabhupada wrote and then Dr. Stahl wrote. It's all in the third chapter of the Science of Self-Realization. Maybe some of you have seen that. It's a very interesting correspondence, and it's very good to study that. But anyway, Srila Prabhupada responded. It was also printed in the Los Angeles Times that he was sorry that Dr. Stahl was so disgusted by the chanting of Hare Krishna. But he, as mentioned in this purport, he also said that there have been presented many books of philosophy that back up this chanting process, and Professor Stahl should take a look at these books. He sent him a Back to Godhead magazine, number 28, and in that Back to Godhead magazine, there was a full coverage of Srila Prabhupada's welcome at Ohio State University, where he got they had a kirtan along with Allen Ginsberg in the big auditorium in Ohio State, where 20,000 students came, and they were all chanting and dancing ecstatically. And there were many testimonials also printed in that Back to Godhead magazine about the reaction of people, about how they were appreciating so much the chanting and dancing of chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing. So anyway, Prabhupada sent that magazine and mentioned about the many books that were part of the Krishna consciousness movement. So Professor Stahl writes back, well, it is undoubtedly true, indisputable, he said, indisputable, that in the Vedic literature, there's no recommendation of this chanting, this constant chanting. It's something that's uh, manufactured. So what do you think Srila Prabhupada wrote back to that?
He would definitely refute that because his
What's
evidence
that?
is. He would refute their thinking about the chanting.
And how did he
Because,
refute it, you think?
well, Lord Chaitanya spread the Krishna consciousness movement, the chanting of the Lord's name. And since he's the Supreme Lord, then we have to follow what he says. So,
He didn't initially introduce Lord Chaitanya.
oh, okay.
Interestingly, he first quoted from Bhagavad Gita, the verse Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dhritarita namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. And he said, this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that the Mahatmas Satatam kirtayanto mam are always chanting my glories. And then he also cited the Kali Santarna Upanishad, where it says that these 16 names of Krishna are especially given to counteract the evil effects of the age of Kali, and also the Brihanadiya Purana, where it says Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. So he quoted those things. And he also mentioned that the Krishna conscious personality, Krishna consciousness movement, accepting the personality of Godhead was not something newly manufactured or concocted between as a merge between Christian ideas and Hindu ideas, but it was present long before Christianity, Islam, or Buddhism were present, and practically every Hindu worships Lord Krishna. That's what he said. So anyway, then of course Dr. Stahl responded, okay, well, yes, you say Satatam Kirtayanto Mam, always chanting my glories, but Kirtayanta just doesn't necessarily mean chanting. It can mean talking, it can mean glorifying, it can mean mumbling, it can mean this like that. He responded. So then Srila Prabhupada responded, said, yes, it can mean all those things, but the main thing is chanting or glorifying or mumbling or talking about who? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nothing impersonal. So anyway, the interaction went back and forth. It's very instructive. I encourage devotees to read that correspondence. And that correspondence was published early in ISKCON. It was under the title, Krishna Consciousness is the True Vedic Way. So anyway, incidentally, uh, Dr. Stahl, he didn't seem like he was finally convinced, but it was a good opportunity to preach about the Krishna consciousness movement through the medium of that newspaper. So subsequently, just an interesting aside is that Dr. Stahl, he wanted to be very Vedic, and later in his life, he went to India and he wanted to perform a very elaborate Vedic yagya ritual, Agni Charan, something like that, that went on for 12 days. And the point being of this ritual that by doing this extended Agni fire sacrifice, he would get a spiritual body. This happened later in the 1970s. And but do you think he got a spiritual body? Unfortunately, no. He did not
No,
get a
that's
spiritual
true.
body because that method of spiritual development is not uh, recommended for this age of Kali. So anyway, he tried his best, but uh, he tried his way, but he didn't accept the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. Other Mayavadis, there was one follower of Chinmayanand Swami, who, his name was Srinathji. He later became a disciple in ISKCON. But he was a follower of Chinmayanand. It was, said he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he would debate with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada would give him questions to ask Chinmayanand Swami. For example, he would say, so if you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how come your hair is falling out, hair in your teeth are falling out? And so Srinathji would go there and ask, and he says, oh, well, I'm getting old because that way people respect me more when I'm old. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't have to get old to be respected. He's in charge of, time. And then Srila Prabhupada eventually challenged Chinmayanand Swami to debate. And then Chinmayanand Swami said, well, what will we debate about? We will debate whether, since you're God, you should be able to lift Govardhan Hill. Yes? But Chinmayanand Swami declined the debate. And so Srinathji then became a follower of Srila Prabhupada. It's very difficult when a person thinks they're in a high position to admit that they're actually something lower. Once you're in a high position, it's difficult. So what you speak of somebody who thinks that they're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's difficult for them to admit that they're really not that important. But by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and his empowered representatives, it is possible. That happened with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. It happened with Prakashananda Saraswati and all of his 60,000 followers. They were previously thinking that they were as good as God, and they would call themselves Narayan, but became sober by hearing the actual teaching of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any
Thank you,
comments or questions or talk about this? Observations, reflections, improvements, corrections.
Just the Lord's mercy, and just appreciating the Lord's mercy to take those who considering themselves one time they could get to Narayan, Lord Narayan's level, and even looking at Lord Chaitanya and looking at him as a sentimentalist. So I'm just appreciating the Lord's mercy that he could ignore, a regular person would ignore them. We don't think well of me. What should I do with them? But he went to them and debated them and convinced them, especially their leader, Prakashananda Saraswati, convinced them that 60,000 followers automatically be convinced also because their leader is convinced. So that was very, very merciful on the part of Lord Chaitanya to give them the real knowledge, or at least convince them the real knowledge.
And it's very interesting that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this pastime of Lord Chaitanya addressing and converting the Mayavadi sannyasis is the first pastime that Krishna Das Kaviraj includes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So isn't that interesting? Even though it happened during Lord Chaitanya's Madhya Lila after his Navadvip Lila, still it was included first. And I don't know exactly what to make of that, but it obviously when you put something first, I mean, of course, there were several chapters where the philosophically to understand Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are given the background of that, but this is the first actual pastime that's described here in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prananath Prabhu has his hand up.
I have said my humble obeisances of God to see the power.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my August Srila Prabhupada. It was very interesting.
Okay.
Sorry, what, Prabhu? You're saying something?
I was before you talk. I was going to apologize for what happened on Tuesday because you already warned us. If you don't mind, you warned us about your poor reception in the area that you were at, but I had to stop it like 15 minutes. I think it's 8:42 thereabouts. I had to start because we couldn't hear you at all at that point.
I
Everything
have
was
to apologize, Prabhu, not you. It was my
well, it's technology. You can't blame me. So the electric came, and I don't have your email. I mean, your text, your cell phone. I would have written to apologize to you, but that's why I'm doing it now. Thanks.
no problem at all, Prabhu. I'm sorry. Thank you. Vishnu Gada Prabhu, thank you for the class. It was interesting to note, Dr. Stahl really having, looks like he really studied Sanskrit language, especially when he's talking about Kirtanam has different meanings. I
Oh
found
yes, oh
that,
yes.
yeah.
He was a Pakka Mayavadi,
Uh,
and usually Mayavadis juggle words and this and that to
mm,
interpret them in different ways, and that's why Shankaracharya, in one of his songs, said the word
well,
juggler is not going to help you at the time of death. Bhaja
Mm,
Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Mudhamate.
mm,
He said you have to worship Govinda. So they're tend to be expert in juggling words to kind of the meanings of words to support an impersonal view and screwing out unusual meanings.
mm,
It reminds me of a story, if you don't mind my talking about it. It was shared
Yeah, yeah,
by
come on.
His Holiness Hirananda Maharaj. He said he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada. So they were in the plane. He was sitting next to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said to Hirananda Maharaj that they should debate. That first, Srila Prabhupada, would be a Vaishnav, and Hirananda Maharaj should be an impersonalist or like a Mayavadi philosopher. And this is Hirananda Maharaj actually talking about it now. They started and Srila Prabhupada beat him easily as a Vaishnava. And then he told, Srila Prabhupada told Hirananda Maharaj that this time let's switch roles. So you be Vaishnava and I'll be Mayavadi philosopher. And he says, and the Maharaj says, Srila Prabhupada beat me again. So, Mayavadi philosopher. So he said that, devotees are warned not to go too near my Vattvas because they can be convincing the way they juggle their words. They can be. So if you're not really well grounded, Sri Papa can defeat my Vattvas, but you have to be careful. Best not to be around them because you're going to wind up believing it and wind up in the Brahma Jyoti, which will not be helpful at all in the end. Hare Krishna. Mm.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Parikshit Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada would say that the Mayavadi philosophy is the last snare of Maya.
Mm.
So there's so many snares of Maya, and
Mm.
you can escape Maya's clutches in many different ways, but then the last one is, oh, you're on the same level as God. Very,
Mm.
and this idea that they're on the same level of God is possibly entertaining and fulfilling. But Lord Krishna, when he appears on the earth, uh, in his form as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods were praying to Krishna in the womb. They said, you're appearing just to uh, destroy the Mayavadi conception or the impersonal conception of the absolute truth by showing your eternal form. People can
Mm.
speculate about the form of God or the existence of God, but when Krishna himself comes as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and shows his eternal blissful spiritual form, then it destroys those uh, speculative ideas about God.
Mm.
There's some chats. There's some chats.
Yeah, let's look, see. Ooh. Oh, my mouse is not helping me.
The story of Srila
Okay.
Prabhupada debating the professor is another great reminder that we should not be afraid to defend our beliefs with scripture. It is probably the most compassionate thing to do. So we bring others out of delusion. Yeah,
Yeah.
good thing,
Yeah.
good point. And
Sure.
interesting in this is exchange. I encourage you to read this. It's like I said, it's in Science of Self-Realization, Chapter 3. Srila Prabhupada was always very respectful to Dr. Stahl, but at the same time, he made his point strongly.
Mm.
And he said, one has to be careful in the impersonal conception. Instead of die speculation, there's actual blissful life in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mm.
And part of the way he showed that blissful experience was by giving the Back to Godhead magazine. And I looked at that Back to Godhead magazine. It's all about the wonderful experience that was uh, that was had by the um, students at Ohio State University when they got up and chanted and danced the Hare Krishna.
Mm. I was to
How
their
to
credit.
identify who is in Mayavadi? Some categories of these Mayavadis speak very nice Krishna Katha. Yeah, that's a good point. But
Yeah. Mm.
like, yes, they'll say like I mentioned, they'll say bhakti, but then bhakti to anyone doesn't
Mm.
matter. Krishna, Ram, Durga,
Mm.
Shiva, Jesus.
And they
So
know
what?
the work. Yeah.
Any
And
any uh, any suggestions about how to identify Mayavadi?
they don't talk about going back to Godhead like that. They talk about merger into the Brahmajyoti, which means, and they don't. I think they don't use the word Brahmajyoti. They use it's a different. I heard that one time in on YouTube. They put something there. I forget how the word that they use, but it was like an abstract, like a void, like you know. They didn't mention the word void. I forget exactly what word they used, and not immediately, you know. When I heard that, I knew that that was my philosophy.
So
Impersonalism.
we in the Hare Krishna movement, we especially place emphasis on chanting the holy names of God, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. But usually the Mayavadis will say, well, chant any name, doesn't matter. Vishnu, Shiva,
Yeah.
Kali, and they do.
Oh, okay.
That's a very common thing.
So my body say
Chanting,
that.
oh
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
oh yes,
All
doesn't
right.
matter, doesn't matter. Any they'll say any Param Shakti, they'll say any Param Shakti. Of course, Krishna is Shaktiman, we don't mind, you can say any, but means any Param Shakti means any very powerful being, Param Shakti, powerful. But that's Mayavadi philosophy. This we say that Krishna is the Shaktiman, the source of all powers. So we chant Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. We don't chant uh, uh, Kirtan to the
Durga,
demigods. Narad
Shiva.
Muni was in his previous life encouraged to attend a Sankirtan, and he decided, well, he'll chant to the demigods, and or
Hmm.
and he got cursed by them too.
Yeah. Lord Brahma Krishna.
Is it sinful to offer chants to Sri Hanuman in addition to the Mahamantra? Well, it's not sinful, no sinful. These are like finer points. Somebody will say, well, we can chant Hanuman Chalisa, Hanuman
Yeah.
Chalisa
In fact,
that's from the Ramcharitamanas. Ramcharitamanas. Well, we recommend primarily chanting Hare Krishna mantra. That's our primary chant.
Mm.
And other chants are acceptable if you're getting them from parampara. There's a verse in the Puranas that says, Sampradaya vihinaye mantraste nishpalamata. The chants that you have, if they're not from a bona fide sampradaya, then they won't give you fruit. Fruit meaning the result of love of God won't come. Doesn't mean it's sinful. No, no, no. But if it's not coming from a bona fide sampradaya vihinaye, then you won't get the ultimate result you want. It's certainly wonderful to offer respects to all devotees, including Hanuman, including Shiva, including Durga, etc. Our prime function, though, our prime chant, as Lord Chaitanya recommended, is to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's coming
Mm.
from Lord Chaitanya through the different acharyas down today, through Srila Prabhupada and today. Is that all
Mm.
right? Further, you can ask further, yeah.
No. Yeah. He's only typing,
Devotees
so.
respect even an ant. At least we should. Hopefully we do.
Yeah. This is. Thank you for this clarification. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
Can can I bring up another topic that now this is from Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Narayan Maharaj,
what
who's
is that?
also trying to make waves here. Um, one of his disciples and I had a talk in front of my house. I remember him getting angry. 4 hours we were talking about scriptures, and he was telling me that is one of those that we believe that we did not come from a spiritual world. We didn't fall down from the spiritual world.
Yeah, that's what they say, but that's not who was telling you this?
It's one disciple of Narayan Maharaj who
Yeah,
was
that's
in ISKCON and left and went to Narayan Maharaj.
yeah, so there's I mean, Narayan Maharaj can say whatever he wants. And but what does Srila Prabhupada say?
We are from the spiritual world. We fell
Well, we
from the
should
spiritual
we
world.
otherwise back to Godhead. We're going if you can't go back to Godhead if you've never been there. This I mean this is very detailed explained by many devotees. Srila Prabhupada explained it first in letters in a correspondence exchange with Madhu Devish Maharaj in 1971. There's several letters. You can find them on
Okay.
Veda base. But of course, he also said that it's not so important where you came from; it's where you're going to go. That's more important.
Yeah.
But but Narayan Myers can have his opinion. That's fine. He's a sadhu, and even within ISKCON, it's allowed to have different opinions. But
Hmm.
we should study what Srila Prabhupada said about the issue.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada, the bulk of his teaching on this was that yes, we were with Krishna and we misused our independence,
And we will put here.
and therefore,
Hmm.
as a result of that, I mean, if we originally fell from the Brahma Jyoti, that means we were created unequal.
Spiritual.
We
Mm.
were created something where there was something imperfect about us from the beginning. Why would Krishna create imperfect people? Why?
Exactly.
What made us so? Because
Exactly.
Brahma Jyoti is fallen. In the Brahma Jyoti, there's no service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mm.
So
Mm.
anyway, these issues have been debated, and
Yeah.
there's a good summary of it on Jai Dvaita Maharaj's
Mm.
website and others that and actually there's a whole book that was printed by the BBT on this issue, not a book, a pamphlet.
Okay.
And anyway,
Actually, okay, well, Shannon, I want to make just a quick comment and then we'll read your nice long text too, which is wonderful. Um, so actually, to end this, after I, sat and had this talk with this follower of or disciple of Narayan Maharaj, It was actually after he mentioned these things that I decided that I was really convinced that I shouldn't have anything to do with Narayana Maharaj's teachings because
Yeah.
it does not
Nara
make any
Maharaj, yeah.
sense.
He
From
has they're somewhat different. He has somewhat differences from Prabhupada's teachings. Okay, and
yeah,
he can have those differences. That's okay. That's it. But we don't necessarily follow that.
no,
We
but
follow Srila Prabhupada.
yeah, but for me, it didn't even make sense at all. But if God is compassionate, why would He bring start some people in the jail in the material world? Because that's the point they're making. The point they're making is that some people, we hear we never. They said in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and they quote that as a reason. They say, "Oh, um, those who go to back to the Godhead, they never return to the material world."
Yes, in general, that's
That's their
true.
argument.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just yeah. So many things. I mean, you can, for example,
Hmm.
there's the word nitya badha. Nitya badha.
Yeah.
Nitya means eternally, and badha means eternally conditioned.
Yeah.
So they take that understanding to mean always in the material world. But Srila Prabhupada explained I mean, according words have to be taken according to their context and according to their,
Hmm.
you know, each word doesn't always mean the same thing, even in English, you know. So Srila Prabhupada explained that Nitya Baddha in that instance means that it was our fall to the material world was such a long time ago we can't trace it out.
Yeah.
Not that we've always been in
Been
the
that
material
way.
world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, they have their
Yeah.
interpretation,
This. Yeah.
but
I.
the Srila Prabhupada's teachings there's not it's not consistent with Srila
No.
Prabhupada's. So that's okay. They can have their
Yeah.
teaching.
Personally, I think it's absolutely bad to look at Krishna that way. That Krishna is very merciful. Why would a merciful Lord put somebody in the material world when they haven't done anything wrong? The beginning, it doesn't even make sense to me. That was my argument. So I just
Yes.
I won't believe them at all because God. Why would God start to? Oh, I'm starting you in jail, and everybody else is in the place where they enjoy, and that's a fair God? Of course not. So I just started laughing about the whole idea. So I don't listen to my Maharaj at all.
And
His
and
teaching have to convince me.
there's so many for example, they say, well, if you're in association with Krishna, how is it possible that you fall? How is it possible? Well, that's minute independence.
Yeah, we have free will.
Yeah, we
So,
have but Lord Chaitanya had a servant by the name of Kala Krishna Das, who was
mm,
daily in association with Lord Chaitanya, daily. And what happened to him? He got allured by the Badaharis,
mm,
even though he was daily serving Lord Chaitanya every day. Lord Chaitanya is none other than Krishna. So how is it possible? Well, it is possible there. It happens. Usually, when you say you that it doesn't happen that people fall from the spiritual, yeah, mostly it doesn't. But there's some
mm,
exceptions. Sometimes it happens.
mm,
Generally speaking, no. As I say,
mm.
we got it. Language. Careful. We have to be careful with language. So to me, I accept Srila Prabhupada as the best interpreter of all the scriptures. So I put my faith in his understanding.
Yeah,
And if people put their faith in other people's understanding, that's up to them.
that's definitely, yeah. But see, Papa makes the most sense, though. There's no question about it.
So
There's no
yeah, I
question
mean,
about it.
the letters are there in the book called The Great Transcendental Adventure. There's the by Kurma. If I find it, I can forward it to you. I think anyway.
Okay. All right. Hare Krishna. Shane, thank you for leaving a text, and I know Sean has also done that. I'll read the text, Shane. Please step on the basis as close to the Prabhupada. Thank you for this wonderful, informative class on Mayavad philosophy. I just wanted to share as someone who fell deep into this hole. It truly is dangerous and impossible to return from without intense mercy. It not only can be very convincing to our conditioned intelligence, but also a peaceful, blissful condition, not the level that bhakti has, that makes us think that we are at the end goal. All right, okay, well, that's his comment. I don't know if we
Yeah,
should
it's
have
good comment. And
yeah,
Sean says, I
yeah,
have heard from the Christian tradition the phrase, we are not created sick and commanded to be well. Okay, yes.
yeah.
Why worry where we came from? If those are on fire, what would you do? You will run away to a safe place rather than worrying how the house was set on fire. Yeah, Prabhupada also made that comment. Sure.
Mm, mm, yeah.
It's
All
called
wonderful
the logic
comments.
of the tal fruit logic. There's a whole thing about the tal fruit. Some
Mm,
there's a tal is a kind of fruit that's hanging from a stem, and a bird flies and lands on the branch where the tal fruit is hanging, and then as a result, the tal fruit falls to the ground. And some
mm,
people say, "Oh, it's because of the bird landed there," and other people say, "No, it's because the stem was ripe and so it fell." And you can argue back and forth forever.
mm,
And that's not the
Hare
most
Krishna.
important part of philosophy. Philosophy, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
we don't. People they want to make that point because they want to say, "Oh, we know better than you." No, I'm sorry, you don't. We know better than you. No.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Any final comments or questions? Thank you for all of you who asked questions, and especially those who put in the chat
Yeah,
too.
thanks.
Yeah, make it quite interesting to discuss. So, dear devotees, please have a wonderful day and a wonderful Krishna conscious day. And thank you, Shnigadapuru, for a wonderful class too. And you know,
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
sacrifice
sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Jai.